talk about utilizing a higher fat diet in the off season for mass gains, and this is going to be pertaining to the actually hard gainers. So the ectomorphic / mesomorph hybrids or whatever. This is going to be basically how they can utilize a higher fat diet with low carbs and gain mass, because I've done it firsthand and I can give you some input on my firsthand experience and the reasons of why this could work very well. So I'm not going to call this a ketogenic diet approach because the protein in this approach would be too high, so it's going to convert in deamination and gluconeogenesis, so there's going to be some protein turnover, converts into glucose. So that's one reason why you can't call it a ketogenic diet. Number two is there's going to be enough accumulative fiber to equate to at least 100 grams of carbs, perhaps from residual carbs or incidental carbs. So what this would entail would be a high inflammatory diet, which I'm not even going to act like it's healthy because it's not, but anything in bodybuilding, the utmost extreme to maximize your muscle mass potential is not exactly healthy. So in a diet that I had very great success with in 2007 regarding higher fat approach would be solely based off of red meats, a lot of red meat, not too fatty, but London broil, top round, and then some 93% ground beef, a lot of egg yolks. A lot of egg yolks for also the nutrients of lecithin, and get the DHA ones, of course, for omega-3 potential, but mainly because the arachidonic acid. So the prostaglandin initiation from the arachidonic acid that's inside the egg yolks. In fact, that can cause inflammation, vasodilation. It can increase potentially growth factors. So whenever you train, your prostaglandins are higher, your inflammatory response is higher, and if you're on anabolics, you're going to break down the muscle more during training, but you're going to have the assistance to build them up from that high inflammatory environment. So I was doing protein shakes with just egg yolks in them, not egg whites. I'd literally get rid of the whites and do the polar opposite of what people usually do and put in yolks into my protein shakes and blend that up. So I was doing a lot of red meat. We're doing a lot of egg yolks, and I was doing peanut butter. Peanut butter, I have another video that's going to release about peanut butter. It's pretty much a cheat food, but for hard gainers, it's a great food because it is a somewhat inflammatory fat. It's really not that healthy. The monounsaturated fat is nothing really to write home about, and there is saturated fat in it. So I consider that as almost like a good food source for an ectomorph. For a hard gainer, peanut butter is great. And so I was doing a lot of peanut butter as well. Even pork rinds, which sounds kind of crazy. The protein in it's very crappy. It's like a collagen protein from skin of pigs, but it is fat and protein only. There's no carbs. So in this environment, it was very easy for me to consume a lot of calories. It was easy to consume a surplus of calories without feeling bogged down from a lot of carbs and a lot of instability of my insulin. So you got to think, with peanut butter, there's 200 calories per 2 tablespoons just about. For red meat, for yolks, 90 calories. I mean, there's a lot of nutrient density, so it's a lot easier to get your caloric demand higher with a higher fat diet for an ectomorph. My insulin sensitivity probably was actually hindered. You'd think higher or lower carbs would make your insulin muscle cells more insulin sensitive. I don't really believe that, because it was inflammatory fats. Anybody knows anything about inflammatory conditions that actually can cause insulin resistance, plus high blood triglycerides can initiate insulin resistance too. You know, what would potentiate insulin sensitivity would be the opposite of anti-inflammatory fats like fish oil, whatnot, but this isn't about that. So in your best interest, it would be to, and if you're a hard gainer, to ingest red meat, a lot of egg yolks, and do egg yolk whey isolate shakes, 3 to 4 egg yolks per shake. Blend that up with ice. It actually is thick, almost like a custard. It turns into like a nice consistency. And I wasn't doing bacon or anything like that crap. It was actually, you know, more protein based and not a bunch of junky fat. And once a week I would cheat or have a carb up, but it would be a cheat because fat would be involved too. So I'd have my pizza and wings and eat it too. And I was able to stay lean. Yes, I was on anabolic assistance, but at the time, no growth hormone back then, 2007, 350 milligrams of test, maybe 400. I was really mild back in that time era, and I grew very well and I stayed very lean, but I have a good metabolism. This plan can work very well for a hard gainer. I wouldn't recommend this for someone that's an endomorph. It's the same situation, guys, where it's still a calorie issue. It's still a calorie issue. So if you're an endomorph, And just because it's lower carbs, but your calories are high, you're still going to store the triglycerides. You're going to shuttle the excess nutrients into adipose tissue just as readily, whether it's high carb or high fat diet. So this is really geared towards an ectomorphic body style. I can talk another time about what would be good for endomorphs and be the polar opposite of an anti-inflammatory based fat diet. This one's pro-inflammatory, pro-prostaglandin. I wasn't using any supplemental prostaglandin like arachidonic acid from X Factor, which is a supplement. Didn't feel I needed that because I was getting enough red meat and egg yolks. And I was able to, I believe, stay around 240 pounds lean back then on just testosterone, nothing else, nothing fancy in the off season. And it was fun. I mean, who doesn't love to eat a bunch of tasty fats? I think it's, personally, fat is more filling, satiating, and just fun to eat than carbs like white rice or something. So this is another approach. It's feel free to leave any comments. I'll answer questions the best as I can. And it was a very good method for me personally. Good for the hard gainer, good for the guy that's tough to put on weight and likes tasty foods like red meat, burgers, even cheese. I was doing a lot of cheese too. So there you go. How to include a high fat diet in the off season for the ectomorphic hard gainer.